Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis, updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com where I dive deeper into these sectors, companies, individual companies, and share my opinions more freely. We do have a discount coupon code. May Day is still active, MAYDAY, one word. And you can still sign up with that code. So let's dive in here. Let's take a look and see what's going on today. I had to clean up my mouth a little bit after looking at the markets with all the throw up going on in oil. But let's dive in here and take a look. DXY, obviously we had yields tank today. The dollar went down. I think oil was a big driver of it, kind of all selling off. So the DXY, it's down about 0.5%, pretty big day. And then we back out. This still doesn't look that bad. It really doesn't. And the way I am forming that opinion is when you look at this big green candlestick, it took basically, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days to come back. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't go lower, but it just means that we had a pretty good impulse move higher here, and we're kind of just leaking out sellers. Now, the dollar will continue lower if we see yields continue lower. What would cause yields to continue lower? Good question. So I think yields would continue lower if we see oil continue lower, and or people become more afraid of a potential slowdown in the economy, stock markets. But right now, yeah, we were coming down quite good today, about 0.5%. We're still above the support levels, both the trend line here and the longer term trend line that is going sideways there. So we're above support. Looking at the 2-year yield, looking a little bit more bearish, but I threw these trend lines here, and this is a channel that we've been going up. It could be a inverted flag pattern, could be. Now we have to watch and see if we start breaking through some of these support levels. And then eventually this level going across here, so we can break the trend line, the horizontal support, and then I think we are definitely going lower. But right now, yep, we were down quite a bit today, down 1.25%. It could be a bearish flag pattern, and we'll have to monitor it over the next few trading sessions. And I'll throw a support level through there that goes all the way across this guy there. That's a big level there. The 10-year, we're also up against support. That could be a bearish flag pattern, and maybe we do break down for a period of time. Definitely possible. We are coming up to some support underneath us, this guy. It doesn't look too bad from a longer-term perspective like this monthly chart, where we could still go higher, but we are getting some short-term selling pressure that we should probably monitor and see what occurs. And then the 30-year yield, same thing, good support underneath us. We are getting some stronger selling pressure today, and we could be coming back to this support level down here for another touch on it. We'll see how strong this follow-through is in the selling pressure. We'll have to see what it looks like. Or buying pressure if it's bond prices and yields are going lower. I should say it's that. TYX, TNX ratio moving up a little bit, but again, guys, we've been bouncing sideways in this ratio for a while. Is this a breakout? It could be. It could be. What does this mean? Well, it would mean that we could see an outperformance of gold and silver. It could mean that the yield curve could uninvert. The 2 and 10s maybe. This is the 30 and 10 year that I'm looking at here. But generally it means that precious metals do quite well when this uninverts. And we'll see if it uninverts and works its way on back up. And what this does is it basically cycles back and forth with certain assets performing well and other assets underperforming during that time frame. TLT bond prices working its way on up. Pretty strong day today. There we are today. And we are up 1.25%. And this is a low and a higher low if that holds. And then if we break through this, we could say that maybe we're in a new uptrend. So that's something to watch. Or you can even look at it from a little bit longer perspective and use this as a low, a higher low. And if we break it up at 100, we could say that we are in a new uptrend. But that's going to take some time. And then we got the 2 and 10-year yield curve actually inverted because the 10-year went down more than the 2-year. So no uninversion of the curve. It actually inverted quite a bit today, 1% inversion. So gold likes the weaker dollar, likes the uninversion of the 30-10 that we normally see. It is trading with that. And we had an update today of about $22 an ounce. Kind of a weird setup here, guys. I'll be honest. We've got weird setups kind of all over the place. We got this nice little move lower, and we haven't really had a good bounce. That could be a flag pattern to go lower. Well, how would gold go lower? Well, if yields are going down, yields could reverse and go up, and we could see gold perhaps come under pressure. But again, I'm kind of taking the wait and see approach to see over the next few weeks, trading weeks, how this kind of all plays out. I play the big long-term picture. The short term's kind of mucky right now, but bigger, longer term, we've broken out of this, and my view is higher. But in the short term, it is possible that we could get a pullback here. And again, in the shorter time frames, your success of your probability of success is lower than some of the longer term, bigger picture view patterns in the longer, bigger picture view fundamentals. Silver up a little bit, but again, we've got some strong selling pressure before today, and we'll see if we get if we can hold on here or if we punch through and head back to maybe levels that are closer to like 28.50. Platinum down a little bit. We're playing with that resistance line that this guy here that we're trying to break through, and right now the resistance line is winning. So we might pull on back. We might loop back around. What we want to see is we want to see these lows come up and just continually make higher lows. So if we bottom again, if we do come back a little bit, we'd like to bottom somewhere, in this range here that is above 880, which I think is entirely doable. And then palladium bouncing off support up 3.3%, pretty big move today, but we're right on support. XAU to gold ratio, the gold and silver mining company selling off a little bit, but bigger, longer term view, guys, it's broken the downtrend line. And again, I remain bullish. I'm going to remain bullish for a very long time. So if we've broken out of this, and I think we're just going to work our way on up. I don't know what the path necessarily looks like, but I do think gold and silver mining companies will outperform gold during this bull market that is coming. CRB index, I don't know why this isn't updating. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but we were sideways today. Yeah, it hasn't updated. I don't see an update on this one. And then that wouldn't be updated either. So let's skip it. We're going to go to GDX. You can see that we are consolidating on top of support. And I think it looks good to go higher. Whenever it wants to move here, it will work its way on up as long as we stay above that support level. So still looks good. GDXJ also right underneath resistance. This one hasn't broken out, but what I like to see are the big green candlesticks and the small red candlesticks coming on down. That is generally a good indication that we could punch through eventually with the momentum carrying us to the upside. That's what those big green candlesticks, that's momentum, the way I look at it. We've got a small little bloody nose. So we'll see if we can punch through at some point. SILJ's got the same setup, just a small little bloody nose on a monthly candlestick. Not much selling pressure, and it's just consolidating sideways at this time. Crude oil getting absolutely face smacked. This is the one that caused a little bit of throw up in the mouth. Down 3.83%, pretty big. I think somebody said something about rolling of contracts at the beginning of at the beginning of most of these months. I know OPEC had some news that came out with potentially extending production cuts and then rolling those cuts off in 2025. And maybe people think somehow that the demand is really weak, but we'll find out if the demand is weak or not. All the demand figures that I look for in terms of travel, like flights with airlines, still look pretty good to me. But again, the markets are forward looking, and we'll see how far of a pullback we get here. If I were to throw kind of a trend line on this, we've got a trend line coming through here at about $70. We might tag $70 here in the short term. Could be a likelihood is getting somewhere in the low 70s. We've got TTF gas just ripping to the upside, 5.57%. Still looks good. And this does look like a little bit of a consolidation that we popped higher from. But this still looks good to go higher. Everything looks good. Big support underneath us. We've just been working our way on up. Nat gas in America up 7%. Looks like we're trying to get through some resistance here. I'm surprised that this is up as much as it is. But we're trying to break through resistance, and that's where we're at with natural gas in America. Surprising. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, getting face slapped. I was getting excited. We had a nice, good trend line coming through here. We were basically turtle heading out, and then we got smacked in the face, and we had to go back into our shell here on a pretty big selling pressure move. This is a bearish engulfing candlestick that goes across like that, engulfs the things before it. Is this an actual candlestick where we could see follow through from? I don't know. And that's something I'm going to watch. We are sitting on top of this neckline of an inverted head and shoulders, which is generally very bullish. And it still doesn't look too bad. We have a couple of down months right here, right on support. We had a pretty big surge higher before that. So it still looks okay, but I'm not exactly happy about getting a fat bearish engulfing candlestick today, because that does put some things in question, like why did we sell off so much? What's going on here? But we're above support. That's a support level there, and we'll have to monitor it and see what occurs over the next few trading sessions. Looking at OIH, also getting smacked in the nutsack here, down 4.8%. It did go to where I circled it earlier. I was getting a little bit bullish on Friday, saying like, hey, this could actually start to work its way on up. And then, yeah, I got kicked in the nuts here. We're back to support. The long-term support level, is this support level going up? Are we going to break it, or are we going to turn and head on up here? In the short term, doesn't look too great with this big bearish engulfing that just showed up today. So we'll see what the trading looks like after this candlestick. If we get a weak bounce with little candlesticks coming up, that could roll over. If we consolidate here and then rip it, that would be obviously a much different opinion. So let's monitor it. Sprott Uranium Trust continuing to sell off, down 1%. Still looks pretty weak, and it looks like we're gaining some momentum there. We've got URA down 2.1%, still above support though. Everything looks good there with the equities of URA. I could grab this too and throw it like this. URNM also right on support. We'll see if that support holds. It's down 2%, not the end of the world. And URNJ down 2.6%, still above support. The equities don't look that bad, so I'll remain bullish on the equities, and we'll see what URA is doing. URNJ, URNM, just still moving sideways. No updates there, really. TAN down a little bit, surprising that we had weaker dollar, weaker yields, but it's up against resistance at this current time. We've got copper, which is up 1.5%, but we've broken through the uptrend line. So we could see further downside pressure as we've got resistance of that trend line over the top of us. COPX down a little bit. But again, guys, I mean, this is pretty normal to get a pullback. November of 23, we were at $32 and we went all the way to 53. That's a pretty big move. And then usually you get a little bit of time to consolidate. So when you break these highs, lots of the times you break out, you might consolidate on top of a breakout like that. So I mean, a lot of this, and copper's doing the same thing. A lot of the times you get this price action. It's not really out of the norm. Lithium up a little bit. It's been just trucking sideways at very low level. Are we getting a bottom in lithium? Tough to say here. Looks like we could do a full retest even back to 36 is possible. REMX down a little bit. This does not look all that strong though. We keep getting these big bearish candlesticks showing up that overpower the green candlesticks. You can notice that the green candlesticks are real small, or they just go sideways. We'll see if we punch through here to the downside for REMX. S&P 500 sideways today. There we are, just working our way slightly higher. I still think that this wants. I'm in the camp that we're in a expansion phase of real estate, and generally during those expansion phases, the S&P 500 trades sideways to slightly lower. It consolidates over a period of time, like a decade. I still think that we're entering or have entered that type of period. NASDAQ also up quite a, well, it's up here quite a bit. It's up 0.5% today. But again, we've got this bearish engulfing here, and we'll see if this can hang on or if it's going to roll over. And I think we're, again, in an expansion phase of real estate, and this is the time where things could get a little bit bearish, but we're up here on top of support. So again, we'll see. We'll see what occurs. Is that a throw over double top? We'll see. Russell 2000 selling off a little bit. We're underneath resistance. This resistance is this guy here, and we could be squeezing up between a long-term trend line and a shorter-term trend line, squeezing up into a corner to make a decision of where we go. Last bull market where we had a commodities bull market was from here, and then it ended in this here, but this was the official breakout there. So the Russell 2000, I think, is doing something very similar to this setup, where we've got a bunch of this. That's this guy here. It comes up, rolls over, and then maybe we come back down here or something like that. Because the market conditions is what is causing me to kind of think that way. KRE down a little bit, even though we had yields and dollar down. Is there problems in the banks? I don't know, maybe, but bearish engulfing could head a little bit lower here, or at least try to. And that's something you might want to watch. We're seeing kind of a disconnect here. Regional banking ETF getting a little bit weak when dollar and yields are weak. And maybe there's something tied to all of this. Like maybe they need lower yields, and one of the ways they lower yields is to kill crude oil. To get those lower yields to save the banking system? I don't know. I'm just guessing. Emerging markets up, does like the lower dollar, lower yields, and still above support. We've got XHB, which is down, surprisingly down a little bit. That is another bearish engulfing there. We'll see if we get some selling pressure in the short term, or if we just consolidate sideways and kind of absorb this big move that we've got from 22 all the way up to where we're at today. And if we come into a consolidation period, something on the lines of that maybe. Move down a teeny bit, but that looks good. It's real tightly knit, and it's right above support. So I think this is a good entry point, actually. We've got iron ore up a little bit, right on support. Right at support for iron ore. We've got nickel slightly lower, but the momentum's to the upside, still looks good. We've got aluminum up a teeny bit, which pretty good looking considering what has occurred in oil today. But that's just slightly lower, and the momentum's still to the upside. Baltic Dry Index up a little bit, and that is usually iron ore and coal, but right against support. Lots of support underneath us. Coal's working its way on up 0.4%, and I do think this will accelerate at some point. We're just waiting for that acceleration. We've broken the downtrend, A-OK, and this is a retest. And this does follow what natural gas does too, to some extent, and natural gas was up quite a bit today. Surprisingly, Bitcoin's up 2.5%. It looks like we're trying to break through here and work its way on up. We had the similar signal in oil, but that thing got wrecked. But it's up today, and it still looks good to go higher based off the pattern. Ethereum's also just working its way sideways and still looks good to go higher. Momentum's to the upside, not a ton of selling pressure here. And then SMCI down a little bit. I've got this drawn this way. I still think it looks okay. It doesn't look like it's ready to crash yet. NVIDIA also working its way on up, almost 5%. God, this thing's a 2.83 trillion market cap. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But still is strong and still holding on in this technology bubble that we are still going through. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you're interested. And that's all I've got for today, guys. Pretty rough day in oil. I've got a lot of big oil holdings. I don't even want to know what occurred in that account. Don't even want to look. And just riding through it. Hold on. 2-year yield. That's something to watch. If we are gonna get a crash, you'd see the 2-year yield really drop. And right now, it's still hanging on. It's still in the uptrend channel. It hasn't really broken any key support levels yet. And we'll see if it does. But that's what I've got, and we'll catch you guys later. This is Finding Value.